I'm so happy that this is my life. But these are the things I get to think about and talk about.
Does it feel different to you yet, listening to it in a different room where it wasn't recorded, or a different car where you can't road test it? Does it feel like yours still, or does it feel like somebody else's?
Once it's out, it's not mine anymore.
Right.
It's gone.
Can you listen to it? That's probably the most asked question I've ever asked any artist throughout my entire life because I'm fascinated. Every answer is different. Can you listen to your music?
I generally never do, just because, well, I think before I never did, because I was always worried. I never had a good experience mixing, and I was always terrified that I would hear something and it was just emotional. But I got to spend enough time with this record that I'm just like really proud of it, and I love every second of it.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
I mean, love every second of it, I guess. I'm really proud for you of it.
I got to spend the time I needed to really like know and love it inside out, and so it's not stressful for me when I hear it.
I feel like that's a constant in your life. As long as I've known you, you've been unafraid to take the time you need.
Much to some people's chagrin.
Who cares?
But yeah.
Who cares? It's your time.
Totally. I mean, thanks for saying that. Yeah. I feel stubborn about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you should. I think there's too much push and pull when, even with the best of intentions, it becomes a system and just pushes and pulls for different reasons.
Totally.
And really, what was the reason in the first place hasn't changed. And I think that's kind of what I always got from you whenever we would talk, or whenever I would say, "Where's Maggie?" And they're like, "Well, she's just being Maggie."
Making art. Yeah.
She's being Maggie. She'll be back when she's back. And
oh, man.
I respect that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
As a fan, I respect that, regardless of being here in this chair with you in that chair. And I think as fans, we should respect artists for taking their time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's really nothing more important than intention. Like, I want to hear art that like feels like somebody cared, and that's what I would like to do.
I'm so sorry.
What?
I had this crazy therapy session yesterday.
Oh, no, did I just say the buzzword?
The buzzword.
Woo-hoo!
Intention. That
Let's
gets
go,
one straight.
Zane. Wow.
No, I love that word. I love that word. Intention is so important. Like almost every day, like what is my intention before I actually, because it preserves your own integrity and what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Totally.
And it preserves your energy, and it allows you to move by design.
Yeah, and it's interacting with the world in a way that is careful, as in with care.
Yeah.
And I think that there's nothing more that you can do in your art too, of just like making choices actively and thinking about them.
Isn't it funny that we laugh when we say that because it seems so obvious, but
it just doesn't seem so like such like a crazy idea, I think, to me. I can't imagine doing it any other way.
But we're a mess as a species. We are distracted and obsessive and odd and strange and get, and impulsive and move in 1,000 different directions in 1 second.
It's true. But I don't know. I have to have hope that there's another option. And I think a lot of that comes from having a sense of connection, whether it's with like the intention with which you move around a room, or the way you create, or the way you perform, or connect to people you love. Like, I don't know. We are a mess, but I have to believe that there is something nicer to being a mess together.
And it's a beautiful mess. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here listening to great music, having an already awesome conversation.
I mean, generally, having a very messy couple years, it leads to a great record.
It's led to an incredible record. And you know what immediately grabbed me, because obviously I'm absorbing the music, and then I need to find a way into what you're saying and start to absorb the deeper thoughts.
Yeah.
But what you've created with Tom, Kid Harpoon, is and as collaborators is powerful.
Thank you.
Like the drums on this record don't play.
Yeah, I mean, I was living alone in Maine for a long time, and really thinking about what I wanted in the pandemic, what I wanted from music and what I wanted to create. And I started this record there, and was really drawn to big drums and distorted guitar, because I missed music that made me feel something physically. I missed the physicality of being at a festival, specifically like British and European festivals. There's something about, it's some of the best experiences I've had as a fan. Something about like it being cold and like beer drunk.
Yeah, it's body warmth, it's alcohol, it's kind of the overcast day. It's not quite being sure what time it is because it's the same color all day.
And it's the bass. There's something about that like bass in your collarbones feeling. And so when I started making music, it was the first time it was the first time I like had a studio of my own, basically since high school. Because in college I used the school studios, and then I was on tour. So I got to have a real like creative practice again. And I'd come to the studio, and I've said it sort of a couple times in like my writings around this record that distortion became a chaos I could control. But I mean it, like in all the craziness of the world, being able to really like play with something that it also felt so like physical and somatic. It was as if it like could like make my body let go of tension I was feeling. And then I brought that nucleus to Tom, to Real World in the UK. And he heard it and sort of like exactly knew what to do. And the first day I sat down at piano, he got on drums, and like within 2 hours, Overdrive was finished. It was like, okay, sick, we're off. Like, that's the opening track. Let's go.
It's not lost on me that you were able to go back to that place where you probably felt safest and most understood, which was on your own in a room surrounded by tools to allow you to express yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that people forgot that that's an important part of your story, because everyone, and we should be drawn to your songs. And everyone was like, oh my God, the performer, the songwriter, the songs. I think it's important now to remember, based on the quality of this record, that you are an architect and a designer and a producer, and you love that process.
Oh my God. I love it so much. It's like, it's where I feel the most like me. It's where I feel the most in touch with what it means to be alive. It's where I feel the most powerful and the most relaxed simultaneously. It's where I feel a sense of like deep purpose. Like, I'm going to cry talking about it. Like, and I think there are so many sacrifices that artists make in the first years of their career in order to sort of like get the ship off the boat and to sea.
Yeah.
And I think a big one of that for me was just so deeply missing alone time to make music. I mean, I think music is this crazy art form because it takes these like deeply vulnerable feeling, because our jobs as artists are to feel. Feeling
feel
people.
And translate, yeah.
And like in every other art form, that there is a boundary between that center creator and the public life.
Mm-hmm.
Like screenwriters have actors,
mm-hmm.
and writers have books. But music takes all these like super vulnerable people and puts them in crazy situations.
It does. We don't protect you enough. It's the truth. And I mean that as all of us on the planet. I mean, as fans too, we have to take responsibility for that. And I've been banging on about this for a long time.
Yeah. And have been like such a champion of this.
I've been trying to find a way into this conversation without offending myself as a fan, and alienating myself as a fan. I don't want to feel bad as a fan, but we have to grow in understanding what it is to create this art. And we have to allow ourselves the opportunity to move on so that an artist can catch up and remind us where they are in their life, and not expect them to constantly lead the way and draw the line for me. That's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, that resonates so much with me. I mean, I think it's been interesting, this sort of album cycle. I'm early in it, because as we're speaking, the record's not out yet. I've been doing a bunch of press and all that stuff. And this record specifically, I feel like I got to go back to writing songs like I did in high school, like unguarded. No one was looking. I wasn't making songs thinking about making them a record. Like, I didn't make music the first like 4 or 5 months of the pandemic. And when I came back to it, it was like, oh, like when I'm bored, I love making beats. Like, sick.
And it's as simple as
that. It's
like
really playful. Like, this is my favorite way to pass the time.
Seriously, put me on a couch with a glass of wine or two and a laptop on my knees.
And I'm like,
and I'm the happiest person ever.
That's it.
I mean, I've even got to the point now where I want to my wife's watching TV and I can keep it at a volume that's not offensive to her, and I can still work. And that is just that's the sweetest
or play.
place.
It's not even work. It's about play.
I'm like a kid again.
And like so much of this record too, like, I have 3 collaborators, right? It's like Tom is the main one, and like we like really created a band together and like touched every song. But there's a couple songs written with Delwater Gap, who was like my bandmate from when we were 18, and a song I wrote with my friend Gabe Goodman. And those songs were written in Maine. Like I had friends come in the summer, and after dinner, we'd like have a glass of wine and make music. And like in that time, I basically made an entire second record that will never come out. Like I wrote through all the stuff I needed to get out.
Yeah.
And then was like, okay, then what? And then I made some music with my friends. Like it was just so nice. Like, and then I missed my friend Tom, who is like also one of my oldest collaborators, and was like, I wonder what he would think of this, and I wonder what questions he would ask to push my thinking, and what he would bring out of me.
You got to reset. Yeah. You got to go back almost and live that moment in your life when it went crazy, but you got to live it again and just kind of do it the way you would have done it now. So much. And like what I was saying about coming back to press is it's funny because this record is so vulnerable because it's so deeply about, it's not about my career. There was no public life to write about. It's about like me and my fears and my love life and my friends and my anger and my joy. And in that, it's sort of funnier to talk about because I feel like I shared so much on the record. Yeah. And then we come dancing about architecture, like, let's talk about Anywhere with You.
I mean, let's talk about Anywhere with You. I mean, that was the first song I wrote in this, I wrote probably 100 songs. I was in this like songwriting group over the pandemic with a bunch of artists.
Cool.
And
anyone we'd know?
Feist, Damian Rice, Beck, Adam Cohen, Anais Mitchell, Mac DeMarco. Like we would write songs for like a week at a time.
This is mind-blowing. I have to just, I don't want to ruin the magic of it, but equally just to get some context because this is a first for me. You're in the pandemic. A lot of people gathered in the pandemic privately to do things. Every week I would go to a record listening dinner thing. It was really fun.
Yeah.
This was something that came out of that. And whose idea was it? And how easy was it for it to just come together?
I don't know. Adam Cohen invited me. And there's this amazing engineer named Phil Weinrub who ran it. I spoke to all these people before doing the album cycle to be like, what's the public vibe on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was invited to join this group, and we wrote every 5 or 6 weeks. We'd write a song a day, and you'd get these are also like my heroes.
I know, it's so cool.
And like I was the youngest in the group.
Yeah.
And every morning you'd get a SoundCloud link of everyone's songs and these are like hearing unreleased songs from all my favorite artists. And I'd go for a big walk, and then I'd be like, okay, time to like show up. Like, what am I going to turn in today?
I'm sort of like...
It was like... And if you miss a day, you get kicked out. And some days, it would just be like, y'all, I love you. I can't do it this week. I can't touch it. And everyone would be like, cool, love you. See you next time.
That's so amazing.
It's a different kind of world and begging for rain. And a lot of those like second record songs that I like, those...
The ones that aren't going to ever be heard.
Yeah, those songs were all... they could be heard eventually.
So who are the co-writers from that on this record?
No, there's no co-writers.
Okay, good.
It's everyone's writing alone.
Oh, wow. So no one's writing together. You just come in and you play your songs, or you send the SoundCloud.
You send it in at the end of the night, and you'd get a SoundCloud link in the morning.
So obviously, and we're not ever going to be allowed to hear these things. It's private.
No.
It's private.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
But you get to
and
listen.
You're like, your partner couldn't hear it.
Yeah,
it was like sworn to secrecy.
And by the way, already moved on. I don't ever want to be a part of that because it's better that I don't.
Yeah.
But because it's more special. But I am interested in the fact that you do. You have how many songs?
I wrote probably like 100 songs. So like, what, 12 of us, 15 of us wrote like...
It's like 1,000 songs written by Beck, Mac DeMarco, Feist, Maggie Rogers that are never going to be heard by anyone but this group. This might be the best story of 2022.
Whoa. I'm glad that...
Have you told anyone else the story?
Yeah. I've mentioned, well, I don't know if in this, no one's reacted like this.
Yeah, because no one gives a like I do. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is so, I cannot get my head around this.
Yeah, and also it's crazy. I'll tell you one more thing. The weeks we chose inadvertently became some of the biggest weeks. Like, we would pick someone would be like, pick a week on the calendar. Who wants to sign up for this? Like, are you available? Like, all right, cool, this week works. Like, let's just do it. Everyone's in the right headspace. The weeks we wrote through were like the first week of the pandemic, the first week of Black Lives Matter, the first week of, like, the election. Like, it was, January 5th, 6th, whatever.
How can
Like,
you not believe in synergy? How can you not believe in energy
oh,
and
so my record's called fucking Surrender. Like, give me a break.
I know you can. I'm talking about everybody else. I'm looking right through you at the peanut
Zane,
gallery behind you, dude.
like, come on.
I know.
So yeah, it's a different kind of world, and Begging for Rain were written in that, like, those were submissions for the Songwriting Group. And then I was just in really good writing shape. And Anywhere with You, which is how this conversation started,
Yeah.
was the first song I wrote in Maine, where I was like, oh, this feels like the beginning of something.
Mm.
And it was the first song where I sort of started to see what it could be, what the record could be. It was the first song I, like, sent a snippet of to, like, my managers and was like, I've got something.
I got something.
Yeah.
That's such a cool moment. We don't spend enough time really, I think, celebrating those moments because we, as human beings, we're always searching for the next destination.
Right. When you have a seed and you finally are like, oh, okay, I understand. Like, it's coming together. And I want that week too.
Wow. So you really were on a tear. Something had clicked, right?
I mean, there were these moments in this record. Like, this record had such push and pull. Like, I wouldn't work on it or touch it for 3 or 4 months. And then, I mean, I was saying the first day Tom and I got together, we wrote Overdrive.
Yeah.
The second day, I've never had a day in my life where I have written 2 songs at once. And I certainly have never had a day where I've written 3. Started out the day with That's Where I Am. Came back after lunch and wrote I've Got a Friend. Came back after dinner and wrote Horses. And Horses is a one-take vocal and so is I've Got a Friend. But Horses specifically, I was so like, I started writing the song and I was like, ugh, I don't want to do it. And Tom was like, finish it. And I was like, no, I want to go to bed. He was like, finish it. And I finished it and he was like, okay, 1 vocal. And I was like, could you just do it in the morning? And he was just like, no, like, do it. And then that's it.
It's amazing how people, Tom being one of them, who are deeply connected to that language.
Oh, yeah.
They see around you the way things are forming that you can't see.
That is so spot on. And he also, like, when I play this record to my parents or my old friends, the thing that everybody says, which I also deeply feel, is how much this record just feels and sounds like me. And that is the greatest gift of a collaborator. He made me feel like the biggest, greatest version of myself.
So good to hear that, because there definitely were times when we would speak on the record or I'd see you out where I felt like you were pushing back a bit and trying to find yourself again, and like, I don't know if this version that you all think I am, this identity really fits. And I have this conversation increasingly, with increasing regularity with artists. I think there's something within the artistic community now that has the confidence and courage to turn around and say after a bit of success, I don't know if I like the way you look at that you're seeing me.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a general thing I've been thinking about a lot, but we really like to believe that things are one thing because it makes things really simple.
Yeah, we got room for other things.
Yeah, and I think people have many sides and are fluid, and things are nuanced and complicated, and of course it makes anyone feel dehumanized when someone's like, oh, that's what she is. And it's like, yes, but like, I mean, this is part of why I went to grad school, because I was just like, we're talking about being in Maine and you're like, you got that version of yourself back. But like, I got it back alone. And then I also really got it back by being in community where my public life didn't exist and where I like was new at something. And I really had this moment where I was like, well, what does it mean to live a beautiful life? Like, what do I want? What do I want outside of music? What do I want to do in my lifetime? And I was like, it'd be really nice to go to grad school. And it'd be really nice to think about, like, as the world is changing, what do I believe? What does it mean to be an artist? What is that responsibility to an audience? What are the ethics of power to hold that space? How can you use music as a tool for peace? And what part of it do I believe is my job? And what just isn't? Like, I feel like I signed up to be a musician. Like that's just who I am. Like, then there's all these things that come with it. And there's a real difference between vocation and profession. And my professional life asks things from me that everyone's does. You know, like no one's job is perfect.
True.
And I think if you can make your vocation your profession, you're in like a really good space. But how do I protect the vocation within it? And that is like largely what I thought about there.
Maggie Rogers, it's so great hearing you put that into such perfect form, because and it's important for people to hear that. More than that, I feel so comfortable and happy now that no one's ever going to be able to take this away from you, and you're just going to give us so much music. Because that's what you realize, right?
Yeah.
Is that when you're able to take a look at all of these things that are flying around trying to distract you, and some of them are positive and exciting and short-lived, and other ones are just annoying, but you got to do them and da-da-da. And then all of a sudden you see it with clarity.
Yeah.
Then I feel like when you show back up, you do so much more willing. And like, oh man, I'd love to do that, and absolutely I'll go do that, because it's less out of control. It's like, I get it. It doesn't fit into my vocation, but it's my profession, and I can box it. I understand it.
Oh my God. And there's just like,
does that make sense?
So much. It's like, it's gratitude practice. It's all those things, but it's also just like, it's allowed to be like kind of silly.
It's
like,
allowed to be silly.
And it can only be that when you can only find that joy when it isn't being asked to be everything. Like, I can like, yeah.
This album is so good. I kind of want to.
I want to talk about the record.
I want to talk about Symphony.
Oh, okay.
I love that song.
Thank you.
I love that song. The title is appropriate, not because it's symphonic, but because it's a symphony of an experience. Like by the end of it, it's like, wow. I don't know enough yet to know who you're duetting with or whether it's you. But what's going on 2/3 of the way through the song when the emotion is let loose and you anchor it down and someone's up here and you're here? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's me.
What? I've never heard you sound like that. Am I crazy?
So that was one of the songs I wrote in Maine with my friend Gabe. That was like an after dinner song. And it almost didn't make the record because it was sort of in that batch that I like of the like middle ground thinking through some things. And I kept being like, there's something in this song. And then I brought it to Tom and like it became this like whole other thing. And it was like really our final day working on the record that Tom added a couple guitar parts and I was like, it now sits. Like now it holds hands with the rest of the record. Thank you. I wanted to write a song that as soon as I made it, I knew it was track 11. Like I was actively sequencing this record the whole time. I wanted to write a song where like so much of what I was playing in this record is vocal delivery. And like my voice is really big in parts, but also I think in order to do that with intention, I needed to have it also be quiet, almost like I was just speaking in other times. And the vocal like doesn't move very much, but the music is everywhere on purpose because like that was very much like the experience I was talking about, trying to reach someone who has like a deep internal world, but you sort of like can't reach it. And I was thinking a lot about like the delivery like that the National uses, that like Matt Berenger, and then like and the way that he's
very conversational with himself. I feel
and the melodies are super simple, and I wanted to think about like what that could look like to just hold that center and let the music and all of my sort of like dance influences like swirl around it.
Yeah, it's so effective. But there was a moment in that song where you reach for something that's out of reach.
Yeah.
And then you come in underneath and you prop yourself up to try to get closer to it. That's what I get from it. It's like, I'm going somewhere here and I got to get there. And you're like, I got you. Don't worry about it. I'm right here. It's okay. Like, so this is this incredible dynamic between yourself going on in that song, which quite frankly got me pretty emotional driving down Jefferson today.
Wow. I love the tempo slow down at the end too.
It's awesome.
Like it's probably one of the songs I'm the most excited to play live because there's so much space to play. Like it could go a million different directions
You
live.
could spiral off into outer space with that too.
Completely. Like it's 6 minutes on the record. Like it could be 10 live.
Yeah, I feel like if that's track 11 on the album, it's almost last on the first set. It feels to me like
100%. Like,
you know. I know it's not a hit to end on. I know it's not a hit to end on just yet, but I'm going to end on it and I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I love that you wanted to talk about Symphony. That's awesome.
Yeah, because to me, for all the reasons I've said, it drew me in, told me a story, and then at the end, it just tried to break away and run away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It tries to run away. It's like, I'm out of here. I'm gone. It's a song. It's like, I'm gone.
Well, that's what I also love.
God, I'm such a nerd for this album. It's crazy.
Thank you. I love when music does that thing you're mentioning where it's like, just I've got you. I'm in charge. Just like, you're safe. Like, we're going to go this way, but like, don't worry. Like I find that in dance music so much.
Me too. I find that in Afghan wigs, but I don't always feel safe.
Yeah, fair.
I always feel like maybe I wasn't intending on drinking, but now I'm drinking? Yeah. How did that happen? Now I'm half a bottle of whiskey down? How the did that happen? Fucking Greg Dooley. You make it okay.
Oh, man.
So what was the hardest song for you? Looking back on it now that we can.
God.
What was the one you wrestled with the most? And not, I don't mean to finish, I mean to express yourself in.
What's coming to mind immediately is Be Cool, which is weird because it's a love song for my friends who took care of me during the pandemic. And we're just, every time I was freaking out, they were like, chill. But I think trying to express something with simplicity and not have it be corny. Like I just like actually beat my head against the wall trying to figure out what that chorus was going to be.
Yeah.
I kept picturing playing Glastonbury and a fan like almost towards the back, like pretty drunk, there with his friends, not necessarily a fan of mine, but like the friends are all there and they're hanging. And this song comes on and they're like, like that. I wanted to write a song for that person. and I kept, I just had a really hard time with it because I was trying to force it rather than just let it come. It was the one where I was suddenly like starting to grip my teeth. And Tom just kept being like, dude, you're going to figure it out. Like we'd be eating lunch and I'd be like really quiet and then I'd be like, this thing. He'd be like, maybe. Like I wanted it so badly.
Yeah.
I think so much with music. You have to want it but not need it.
Oh, man. There's this great quote which I put up on my TikTok from Justin Vernon, which was just that. It's like, I wanted music to be my job so badly. It just wasn't there for me. And as soon as I accepted my nature, that maybe I should just go and teach music and be in education, it happened.
Yeah.
And I think reading the comments, because I'm into it, because I love the community on there. A lot of people struggle with it. They're like, but if I want it, why would I let go? And surely that takes away from the idea of work. And I think
surrender,
exactly. Put the intention out. Do the work by all means. Put the intention out.
Trust it,
but trust the process, right?
Yeah. You have to trust it, and eventually, that song inevitably is now one of my favorites. Tom and I started it in Real World, and then hung on to it for like 6 months. And we were at Electric Lady, and it was really like John Batiste was in the studio, like down the hall. And he came in and added all this like beautiful synth work to it. And that's when it really started to be like, okay, now I understand where this is going and where this sits. And now I understand that this couldn't sound like Bath. It had to sound like a sunny day in New York.
Yeah. And it needed John.
And it needed John.
Who's the greatest.
Yeah, a couple of these songs needed John. He's also added some incredible piano to I've Got a Friend.
And he also just brought incredible energy into the room.
I mean, we've been collaborators for 5 or 6 years now, and he's one of my deeply favorite people to be around.
It's one of my favorite things on the planet when I call him every now and then and I say something that means something to him and he goes, yes, yes. Yeah. And I'm like, I got it.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, he's incredible. Who else, if anyone else, joined you on a musical level or artistic level on this record?
So Maine was super solo with a couple very old friends. Bath was really me and Tom. And then when we got to New York City, it was really like community. Let's invite the power of community in. And it really was sort of happenstance. It was like people that were hanging around. Yeah. Claro and Claude are the speaking voices on I've Got a Friend. Florence was in the studio above me working with Jack. And like, we've been friends for a while. Her and Tom are old friends and collaborators. So we were just hanging out a lot. And I played her Shatter. I have this great screenshot of a text message from her where she like went up. I was like, yeah, like come be a part of it. And she went upstairs and then texted me and was like, okay, but it's in my head now and it needs to come out. And I was like, okay, like come back. So she's
the most brilliant brain of anyone I know.
So she plays tambourine. She's the dirtiest percussion player you have ever met, and she sings backup on Shatter.
Yeah, she's all physical, man. When you see her perform live, it's like everyone talks.
She's levitating.
She's levitating, and the thing is like, I've watched her headline Glastonbury with her eyes closed, and thought everyone could have packed up tents and gone home, and she'd still be on.
Sounds about right.
It'd be the same.
And then Pino Palladino's on this record.
No, that's a flex.
I mean,
did you just watch?
Yeah,
just watch.
I mean, part of this record was like learning the power that I had after putting in all the work on the first record. And being like, I could just call him and ask him if he wanted to play on my record. Someone's like, yeah, that's how that works. And I was like, okay, like.
Confidence is such a funny thing though, isn't it? Because we assume when we see you put a piece of music out with your face on it, or a video where you dance in it, or a stage where you perform on it, their confidence is just this kind of never-ending available energy source that you just kind of like top up and use. And it's not at all. In fact, in many respects, it's the opposite. Even when you have quote-unquote perceived success, the idea of calling up someone you admire and asking them to do something as simple and pure and beautiful as collaborate musically and artistically, which is why you do it in the first place, seems so foreign to you.
Yeah, well, I just didn't know that was possible. Or like when I was making this record, I loved that song, "The Rat" by the Walkmen, especially how like off the rails the drums are.
Well, and not just the drums. I mean, Hamilton's
like all of it. Hamilton's also like a monster.
Lost his mind from the first word.
Suddenly, Tom and I were talking, and it was like, oh, we could just get Matt Barrick to play drums.
Amazing.
And so he came in through like played on the record, and it was that kind of thing of like, who are all the people I love that like could be woven into this tapestry and lend their energy and voices to it?
That's so cool. Why would you ever stop?
I mean, I feel that way.
Why would you ever stop? I mean, that's the fucking great thing about making music now, Maggie, and the reason that you take long walks in the park, metaphorically speaking, I know that you tend to walk on far more vicious and exploratory terrain than just a park.
I love a park.
The way she said I love a park is so dismissive of parks. I mean, if I'm getting some milk, I'll walk in the park.
I love a park.
Okay, but we also know that, you traverse cliffs and mountain ranges and everything. I'm sorry. It's in my head now, and I need to get it out. Just 30 seconds. I just need to get it out. You did it.
It's so good. It's also just like loose. It's alive. Wait, I want Ham's voice. Like, I want to be at this show. I want to be at this show. I want to be at this show.
I saw them in a small club.
Fucking crazy.
He's just stalking it. Just like, he's so tall and handsome. He's so charismatic. And it's just, the whole band's all over the place and he stands stock still. So the chaos around him is just going on.
I feel it in my teeth. Like, that's the thing. It makes me want to bite someone.
It's... We gotta get a little bit of Hamilton in it though, because this when he just slides into it like a drunk neighbor. You got a nerve to be asking a favor. You got a nerve to be calling my number. I know we've been through this before. Can't you hear me?
I can't like.
It wraps me up in myself, Meg. I know,
and I am like restraining myself because I know that if I go there and like take my lid off and actually touch that thing, I can't come back and like.
I go there all the time.
I support you.
I just went there.
I know, and I'm saying I couldn't meet you because if I did it, like I'm gonna start sobbing. Like there's too much there. Like I can't touch it.
It makes me emotional. I'm emotional
Yeah, it makes
right
me
now.
emotional. Like I can't
That song is just like, it came from somewhere that needed to exist. And then when I saw that band play it live, it was like their lives depended on it. It wasn't a song at another gig in front of another crowd.
Yeah.
It was like, this is everything right now.
I mean, it is though. And I think I feel that way so much now that I'm like, if I can feel it in my hands and my teeth and like, if I like touch it, I won't be able to.
Can't you hear me? I'm
back.
bleeding on the wall. I mean, it's just, it's one of the most brilliant modern examples of that wrestle with yourself and the cry for help. And when it doesn't come, you write the song. That's the thing. When it doesn't come, if it came, you probably would be like, I'm fixed for now.
Yeah.
But the song gets written.
I mean, I apologized to Tom the other day. Not like and I said thank you. I don't know that I had anything to apologize for, but I was just like, man, I was in it. And I'm such a different person now that this record is outside of my body. But
But Maggie, if you love music and you love art and you love being in the room, and I'm not speaking for Tom here, but that's the point.
No, it is, but I think it's totally the point. But I was pretty, like, I didn't get to make music for a long time. I did, and like, I was doing other things that I chose and loved, but like, I was like pretty tangled up by the time I've been on tour for 5 years straight.
Yeah.
Like, by the time the pandemic happened, I was like, I had chronic fatigue. Like, I couldn't talk. I hadn't been to a grocery store in 4 years.
Yeah,
like,
burnout, total burnout.
Yeah, I just like I was ready to bite, and this record is the bite. But then when I like listen back, there's so much joy, and I think that's the thing that surprised me more than anything was that like that was the place that I escaped to, and it was the thing that became the way that I survived it, or the way that I worked through it. This idea of joy as a form of like rebellion, or as something that can be radical and contagious and connective and angry. Like I think joy and anger are two sides of the same coin, and the reason I believe the joy in this record when I hear it is because I hear the grit too, and it feels hard won.
Yeah, and you can hear it as a fan, but man, is it a relief when you get through it and you start it and you realize it's go time. And you know why? Because it was waiting for you. The music was waiting for you. It was always there, just waiting for you.
You're gonna make me cry.
That's the crazy thing about art. It doesn't, when you've got it in you, it's there for you. It wants you to come back, but only you can do that. No one can push you into a studio. No one can tell you it's time to go back to work, especially you. Maggie. It comes from a very, very real place for you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, it really does. And it's, man, it's personal too.
Yeah. But that's why we're grateful, because you had the courage to release it. And it's fucking awesome. And by the way, fuck it. Maggie, you're the best. And this album is such a triumph. I hope you, well, I know you do, because we just talked about it. I know how proud you are of yourself and what you've created. And I cannot wait to see you bring this to life in earnest when it's out, because I think it's going to transform the way that we see you on a stage and experience you as an artist as well, right? It's got to. There's no going back after this.
No, there really isn't. And I feel like I don't even know what I made until I go and play it and experience it with people, but also experience it in repetition. There's there's things that bleed out of the songs once you live inside of them. And I don't know what quite is in store for me living inside of this record, but I'm so happy that this is my life. Like that this is the things I get to, that these are the things I get to think about and talk about.
Because it was waiting for you. So you know it's there and it's always going to be there for you. That's the thing. It's never going to abandon you. The music's never going to leave you.
No, it is not. And I think I'm so deeply clear on that now. And I never thought that music was going to leave me. I think it was more just about finding a way to protect the music. I mean, that's so much what I wrote and studied about in school. How do I keep the things sacred in my life really safe? And how do I reconstruct every aspect of my life and my career to keep those things at the center?
Magic. It's magic.